When you think of the name Marbella, you get this very specific image, right? Sun, massive yachts in Portobanus, these incredible villas tucked away in the
The
hills.
playground of the European elite, for sure.
Exactly. It's always been this symbol of glamour, luxury, celebrity. Goes all the way back to, Hollywood royalty at the Marbella Club Hotel in the 50s and 60s.
A very established brand of wealth.
But that's not what we're talking about today. In this deep dive, we're looking at how that paradise has been, well, repurposed. Our mission is to understand how Marbella became the physical home base for a really specific and, frankly, controversial online movement.
The Manosphere.
The Manosphere, yeah.
Yeah.
And specifically the network of entrepreneurs around figures like Andrew and Tristan Tate. And this isn't just about them liking the sunshine. This is an ideology moving offline, putting down real expensive roots right on the Costa del Sol.
It is sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's not just a bunch of guys hanging out.
Not at all. The sources we've been going through have tracked all of it. Social media, real-world events, complex business ventures, and it really exposes a calculated strategy. It's a look at how online influence gets turned into, bricks and mortar infrastructure. We're talking about the business of exclusivity.
It's that transition that's so fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
The jump from the digital world, where you can sort of dismiss critics, to the tangible, real world.
Yeah.
And before we get too deep, we should probably set the stage. Define what we mean by the manosphere. As the sources describe it, it's this. It's a very diffuse ecosystem of male online communities.
And it's huge.
It has a massive global following. But, and this is the critical part, it's also heavily criticized for its content, which consistently demonizes and denigrates women. It pushes a very strong anti-feminist message.
And the first real signpost that this whole ideology had found a physical home in Marbella was this one exclusive event.
Right. Late September, Tristan Tate's tequila launch.
This wasn't some public party. The sources say there were maybe 25 spots available, super coveted. And the scene itself, from all the social media posts, it was just a perfect snapshot of their whole aesthetic.
Tailored suits, the heavy watches, cigars.
All the signifiers of wealth, all happening on this slick rooftop terrace.
And the most powerful person there wasn't even in the room.
Right. Tristan Tate himself video calls in, smiling, wearing his signature burgundy suit, telling everyone to toast the new brand. That remote endorsement, it's everything.
It signals that the Tate brand is still the absolute center of this new physical world they're building in Marbella. It lets the whole community sort of bask in their success,
Right.
even while the brothers themselves are facing, well, immense legal problems.
And that's the jarring part, isn't it? The duality. On one hand, this massive influence, and on the other, these incredibly severe charges.
We have to address it head on. The sources are very clear about the background context. Both Andrew and Tristan Tate are facing criminal charges for human trafficking and rape in the UK. They're also under criminal investigation in Romania for trafficking and forming an organized crime group.
And it's crucial to state, they strongly deny all of it.
They do. But the fact remains, despite the gravity of all that, their influence inside this entrepreneurial bubble, their ability to generate these high-value, exclusive events in a place like Marbella, it seems completely undiminished.
That's the paradox. How does this community just dismiss that? It seems impossible for an outsider to reconcile those two realities.
Well, the sources suggest the mechanism is all about in-group reinforcement. It's financial, it's psychological, and it's ideological. The cost of entry is so high to get into these events, to join the clubs, that it filters for people who've already bought into the narrative.
The narrative of success above all else.
Exactly. And within that filtered group, the legal troubles get reframed. They aren't legitimate criminal accusations. They're proof that the matrix, or the system, is trying to crush powerful men who speak uncomfortable truths.
So the charges become a badge of honor, in a way?
In a way, yes. And the constant flashy display of wealth in Marbella serves as the ultimate counter-argument. It's them saying, look at us, we are still winning. And Marbella provides the perfect stage for that entire performance.
Okay, so let's dig into that. The stage itself. Why Marbella? We've talked about its foundation, this history of aspirational luxury.
It's stunningly beautiful, right? Between the Sierra Blanca Mountains and the Mediterranean. And as you said, its reputation was sealed back in the 50s and 60s. Audrey Hepburn, Cary Grant. The Marbella Club was the place to be. It was established very early on as a place where the global elite came to play.
And, crucially, to be seen playing.
To be seen. That visibility is key. But, as the sources reveal, Marbella has this profound dual edge to it. While you have the movie stars, you also have this growing reputation as a hub for international crime.
Which creates a very specific kind of environment.
A perfect one for discreet or even opaque wealth. The investigation quotes one former Spanish police officer, a guy who spent 2 decades on international crime cases.
His assessment was blunt. He called Marbella the Wall Street of organized crime.
Wow, the Wall Street of organized crime. That is a staggering phrase. What does that actually imply about the way things work there?
It implies a high level of opacity and a very tolerant environment for moving huge amounts of money, often without a clear paper trail. The officer said that any self-respecting criminal organization needed an outpost there.
So it's a place where big transactions happen fast and people don't ask too many questions. Exactly. Because the sheer volume of international money flowing through is just so vast. So for a community whose whole message is escape the rat race and get rich quick, often from online things like crypto or selling courses, that kind of tolerance for opaque, high-speed wealth is uniquely attractive.
And the amount of money there is just undeniable. The sources point out that Marbella and the town next door, Benavides, have 6 of the top 10 most expensive streets in all of Spain.
We're talking about mansions being sold off plan for millions. There's even a new complex going up designed by Dolce & Gabbana overlooking the Golden Mile. The visual branding of success is literally built into the landscape.
Which brings us to the economic logic, the final piece of the puzzle.
This is what really sealed the deal for the mega-rich. In 2022, the regional government of Andalusia officially abolished its wealth tax.
A huge move.
A game changer. It basically rolled out the red carpet for wealthy investors, especially foreigners, looking to relocate or just park their assets in the region with a much lower tax burden. It was a clear signal.
A signal that capital is welcome, no questions asked, as long as there's enough of it.
Precisely. So you've got the glamour, the possibility of discrete finances, and now these incredibly favorable tax laws. It's an overwhelming draw for the kind of people in the Tate orbit.
But it's not just about the money, is it? It's about the brand.
Exactly. Elisa Garcia Mingo, a sociologist who studies the Manosphere in Spain, she really nails it. She says that for these content creators, they have to be seen in places that validate their message. And Marbella is, in her words, the place for the rich, the mega-rich, and it's a place of ostentation.
So the city itself becomes the backdrop for their content, that proof of concept.
Absolutely. The environment is the ultimate advertisement. The message becomes, if you follow our path, our hustle, this is the tangible success you can achieve. Marbella is like a multi-million-dollar film set that gives instant credibility to the lifestyle they're selling to their followers.
Which moves us into the psychological landscape. Another expert, a social psychologist named Jesus Moreno, he points out how deeply the local culture already aligns with this community's values.
He says that in Marbella, economic status and displays of power form the backbone of social relations.
It's a natural echo chamber for them, then. If your entire measure of worth is money and dominance, and you go to a place where everyone else is playing the same game...
It just continually reinforces your worldview. Your core metric for success money equals power is validated everywhere you look.
But there are all-male clubs all over the world. Golf clubs, social clubs. What's the specific danger that Moreno points out with this community in Marbella?
The danger is the intensity in the ideology. He says these aren't just casual networking groups. They're intensely focused on reinforcing a specific, often toxic worldview. The concern is that they harden.
Harden to what?
He uses the phrase sect-like dynamics that continually reinforce their misogynistic and anti-feminist narratives.
Sect-like dynamics. That's a chilling phrase.
It is, because by moving the community offline and building these exclusive, high-cost physical spaces, they create this impenetrable bubble. It filters out all external criticism, and it constantly validates the internal narrative. It makes an online ideology feel like an established, successful social reality.
And Marbella, with its culture of exclusivity and discretion, is the perfect place to build that walled garden.
The wealth is the wall.
Okay, so if Marbella is the location, the stage, let's talk about the actual infrastructure. The real-world clubs and businesses that are the engine of this movement on the ground. And the central figure here seems to be a man named Luke Barnett.
Barnett is a critical link. He's a British former MMA fighter, and he describes himself as being part of the leadership of the Tate's infamous War Room.
Let's just pause on the War Room for a second. The barrier to entry is staggering, right? It's something like $8,000 to join.
Almost 8,000, yes. And it bills itself as a global network, working to free the modern man from socially induced incarceration.
Okay, let's break that down. What does socially induced incarceration even mean in their context? For $8,000, what's the philosophy they're selling you access to?
It's the core idea of the Matrix. The belief that modern society, feminism, political correctness, a 9-to-5 job is a trap designed to weaken men. They claim men are being systematically held back from their true potential for wealth and power. So the fee buys you access to the philosophy and the network that promises to liberate you.
And Barnett's job is to take that abstract, expensive online concept and make it physical, make it real in Spain.
Precisely. And he's done that through these exclusive clubs. The first one is the Casa Cigar Connoisseurs Club. And this is real infrastructure. It's hosted on that same rooftop terrace where Tristan Tate's tequila party happened.
And it's not cheap.
Up to €300 a month. But they're promising more than just cigars. The website promises powerful connections over the world's finest cigars. It's a monetized networking hub. And the welcome message says it all. Welcome to the Brotherhood.
That word brotherhood, it's so loaded. It implies exclusivity, a shared ideology, mutual protection, all wrapped in this sophisticated luxury package.
It absolutely is. And he's expanding. He's also announced Marbella Casa Creative, another members-only club. It gives you access to that same rooftop, but the price point is much higher.
How much higher?
Membership packages are advertised at between 6,000 and 25,000 euros.
25,000 euros. To join a creative club, I mean, that financial wall you mentioned, it's monumental. It ensures only the wealthiest or the most committed can even get in the door.
The cost is the commitment. It filters out anyone who isn't a true believer. But look at how he's diversifying his businesses. He and an associate, a business strategist named Bradley Marchant, have also launched a cafe, a podcast studio, and a film production company.
A film production company called A Beautiful Kill. So they're building a self-sustaining media engine.
That's how you build the parallel media ecosystem we talked about. They can now produce their own content, network, socialize, and do business, all inside their own curated, high-end, ideologically pure bubble in Marbella.
Let's expand on that idea of a parallel media ecosystem. How does having a physical studio in Marbella help them bypass scrutiny?
It's a media apparatus that operates completely outside the normal gatekeepers. No traditional journalists, no social media moderators who might flag their content. They host each other on their podcasts. They cross-promote. They control the entire frame.
And filming it in Marbella.
It reinforces the reality of the lifestyle. You see the expensive suits. You see the beautiful backdrop. It makes the digital content feel so much more authentic and aspirational than something filmed in, a spare bedroom. It's ideological legitimation.
So let's look at who this hub is attracting. The sources name a guy called Stirling Cooper, a listed member of Casa Creative. He calls himself the world's #1 sex coach for men.
Cooper's presence is a perfect example of the blend of finance, fitness, and sexual dominance that defines this community. He has almost 400,000 YouTube subscribers, and his brand is all about teaching men how to interact with women from a position of control.
And he has a very problematic history. The sources point to criticism he got for comments about how he disciplines women and, more seriously, investigative reports linking him to neo-Nazi meetings in Australia.
And that connection is critical. Cooper isn't just a controversial figure. He represents the more radical fringe of the Manosphere, which often overlaps with extremist views. His prominence in this Marbella network, appearing in videos with Barnett and the Tates, shows that this core group is comfortable embracing figures with these kinds of histories.
As long as they align with the broader goals.
As long as they align with the hyper-masculine empowerment and the hustle. The network also extends into logistics, though. The tequila party brought in Gabriel Rapisarda.
He's the head of the company distributing Tristan Tate's tequila.
Right, a Switzerland-based firm. And it shows the practical business side. His company also distributes a beer brand owned by the MMA fighter Conor McGregor.
Another Manosphere-adjacent figure with huge influence.
It demonstrates a strategic cross-pollination. It ties the Marbella network into this wider world of luxury brands, sports, celebrity, and a very specific hyper-masculine idea of success. They're building a whole commercial universe.
And if we go back to that party, the other guests there, they were all part of the branding, weren't they?
Carefully curated. They were living proof of the Manosphere's promise. You had a Forex trader promising to help you escape the rat race, a self-proclaimed closer who makes big deals, a fitness coach, a bespoke tailor.
Every single guest reinforced the focus on self-made success and appearance.
They're the visual embodiment of a high-value man. The social anthropologist Marie Hermanova sums it up perfectly. She says these influencers cooperate strategically. They form hubs, appear on each other's podcasts, and create a parallel media ecosystem. This makes them extremely effective.
They're not just selling a product.
They're selling access to a vetted, successful reality. And Marbella is their showroom.
Which brings us to the core messaging itself. Because the ideology is packaged in this really clever, almost deceptive way. It's built on two pillars.
The first pillar is almost universally appealing. It's self-improvement, physical fitness, hustle culture, getting rich. These are positive, actionable goals that really appeal to young men who are looking for some direction.
But that's just the wrapper.
That's the wrapper, because the sources show it's deliberately and constantly blended with the second pillar, explicit misogyny. The language they use in public content is often incredibly derogatory, using terms like whore, pussy, or just referring to a woman as a thing.
And that packaging is so cynical. It suggests that dominating women isn't just some byproduct of success, but an essential part of it.
It's a uniquely cynical formula. Hizmanova's analysis on this is key. She argues that Andrew Tate was the radical tip of the spear. He pushed the extreme edge and got famous for it. But by wrapping that core anti-feminist ideology in the language of self-improvement, the culture itself has become visible and mainstream.
So the movement doesn't even need Tate himself to be present anymore. He created the framework, and now this ecosystem in Marbella can function on its own. It legitimizes the ideas without the direct legal baggage of the founder.
Precisely. The ideology is now transferable. And the promise they offer is incredibly seductive to young men who are feeling lost. The message is simple and aggressive. If you hustle, get rich, dominate women, then you can live a good life.
And the proof is right there in front of them, in Marbella. It makes the promise feel real and achievable.
And this normalization is happening against a very specific political backdrop in Spain, especially in Andalusia. The sources highlight this growing concern that misogyny is entering mainstream public discourse there. And a lot of that is being fueled by the rise of the far-right party, Vox.
How relevant is Vox's rise to this?
Highly relevant. They're the third largest party in the country, and also in Andalusia, where Marbella is. And their political platform gives a kind of formal political legitimacy to the exact anti-feminist narrative these influencers are pushing.
In what way? What's their official stance?
Vox advocates for rolling back Spain's groundbreaking gender violence law. They claim, explicitly, that the law discriminates against men.
Which is a direct echo of the Manosphere's complaints about the system being rigged against them.
It's the exact same argument. So when a major political party starts validating the idea that men are the real victims of gender equality laws, it gives the influencer's narrative this powerful anchor in the real world.
A feminist activist, Camila Palenciano, she detailed this alignment.
She did. She noted that the Manosphere just echoes the far-right's rallying cries. She points to the specific phrases you hear in both circles. Violence has no gender. Women abuse too. The law is unfair.
It's a shared language. It creates a dangerous feedback loop.
It's designed to be a feedback loop. Palenciano explains that the YouTubers hype up their young fans, and those fans then repeat the same discourse everywhere, in their schools, in their friend groups. It translates an online ideology, which is being legitimized by a political party, into aggressive, real-world social behavior.
So the misogyny stops being just a controversial online persona. It becomes a shared political grievance that's acted upon.
Exactly. And that makes looking at the specific content these guys in Marbella are producing even more important.
Yeah.
It shows how this toxic blend of hustle and hostility is actually applied.
Okay, let's get into those specific examples then. This is where the ideology becomes really tangible. First up, there's a reality TV connection. Jesse Meester. He was on 90 Day Fiancé. He's Dutch, now a real estate agent in Marbella with over 1 million followers.
And Meester hosts a podcast. And while he talks about business and health, it often veers into pure Manosphere territory. The sources detail one specific conversation he had with Luke Barnett, the war room leader.
And they were talking about relationships, specifically how high-value men get sucked in by women because they don't set the right standards.
And that's the setup. Barnett then issues this incredibly stark, misogynistic warning. He says you have to be careful not to get into a relationship with some whore who's going to take everything from you.
The framing is always that women are these opportunistic predators, just waiting to take a man's hard-earned money.
Always.
Yeah.
And later in that same conversation, Meester himself chimes in, saying men are often absolutely destroyed because of a woman, because of a pussy. The message is clear. Women are financial and emotional liabilities that a powerful man has to control or avoid.
But this is where it gets really interesting. Meester also spoke directly to reporters for this investigation. He is careful to put a little distance between himself and Andrew Tate's specific attitude.
But then he went on to downplay the seriousness of financial abuse.
He was asked about men controlling women's money, and his response, I mean, it's the absolute core of the ideology.
It is. He argued against calling it abuse. He said, quote, "It's financial manipulation or abuse, some people say. But I disagree with that because the woman also chooses that. So it's like if you choose a man to do that, it's not really abuse."
Wait, let's just break that down. That logic fundamentally shifts all responsibility for abusive behavior onto the victim. If a woman chooses the man, he's arguing, then she's also chosen any abuse that follows.
It's textbook victim blaming. It's the foundational mechanism of the ideology. It perfectly echoes Andrew Tate's own infamous claims that women bear some responsibility for being raped. Manosphere is taking that extreme victim blaming and normalizing it, making it sound like common sense in the context of money and relationships. That is normalization in action.
Okay, another key figure, Mike Thurston. He's huge. 1.6 million YouTube subscribers, mainly focused on fitness, coaching, a clothing line. Marbella is perfectly on brand for his message of physical strength and control.
Thurston is crucial because he connects that aspirational fitness message directly to the top of the ideological pyramid. While his own content is mostly about working out, he hosted Andrew Tate for 2 viral interviews.
And the second one, in Tate's Bugatti in Dubai, gave Tate this massive, validated platform to push his narratives about the justice system.
The quotes from that interview are so revealing. Tate claimed that once women decide to target a man, they call 100 ex-girlfriends. They only need a 1% success rate. If they can get one silly bitch to lie, now you're fucked.
And then he immediately tries to discredit women as a whole.
Immediately. He pivots to, it's crazy because 27% of women are on antidepressants. Because they're basically clinically nuts.
That's a two-pronged attack, isn't it? First, dismiss any accusation as a manufactured lie. Second, label women in general as unstable and therefore unreliable.
It's a strategy to completely dismantle credibility. It dismisses all abuse claims, past and future, as a systemic attack. And Thurston, by giving him that platform, helps weave those toxic narratives right into the self-improvement journey he's selling. The subtext is, you need to get strong and rich, because the world, and especially women, are out to get you.
And finally, there's Harrison Sullivan, known online as HS Sticky Talkie. A young British influencer, built his following on fitness, making money, and sex, often calling women things.
He used Marbella as his glamorous backdrop. He fit the mold perfectly until he ran into real-world legal problems.
Right. He was arrested in the UK and got a 12-month suspended prison sentence for dangerous driving and driving without insurance. And he's also under investigation in Spain for an alleged assault in a nightclub.
Sullivan's story just shows the fragility of that high-value man persona when it collides with the actual legal system. The image is all about total control, financial, physical, emotional. But the reality is often just reckless and violent.
Marbella provides the stage for the fantasy.
But the real world and the law eventually step in.
So it's clear the real commodity they're selling here is access. The ability to rub shoulders with this supposedly elite, vetted community. This is a business model built on monetizing exclusivity.
And that financial barrier, that high price of entry, it serves 2 purposes. First, it filters for people who are already rich, which makes the network seem more valuable. And second, it filters for people willing to invest huge amounts of money, which proves their commitment.
If you spend $11,000 to be in a room, you're not a casual observer anymore.
You are financially and ideologically invested. And the prices are staggering. Mike Thurston's Marbella Mastermind Retreat.
The cost for that was 9,000 British pounds. That's over 11,800 US dollars.
That price immediately separates the true believers from the people just watching free videos on YouTube. You're not paying for advice. You're paying for proximity. You're paying to have their brand rub off on you.
And he's not the only one. Rob Lipset, another fitness influencer and a member of that Casa Creative Club, he held his own mastermind event in a luxury villa in Marbella.
And these are highly orchestrated. Lipset's event promised access to an elite community of industry leaders and investors. The cost is basically a fee you pay to enter their version of the elite.
And these events tap directly into a real psychological need. A researcher, Zuzana Ochinajova, noted that there's this rising sense of pessimism and apathy among young men in Europe, a feeling that equality movements have started to discriminate against them.
That identity crisis is the vulnerability the Manosphere preys on. Ochinajova says that while some men see new roles as an opportunity, a lot of them find it unsettling. They feel like there are all these contradictory expectations being placed on them.
And the Manosphere offers a simple solution.
A very attractive one. a rigid, predefined box of hypermasculine roles centered on wealth and domination. It gets rid of all the ambiguity. And the success you see on display in Marbella seems to prove that the model works.
So they're paying thousands of dollars not just for business tips, but for a sense of ideological certainty, for a structure they feel is missing from the modern world.
And the ultimate payoff is seeing the online fantasy become real. Rob Lipsett said it perfectly on LinkedIn. He wrote, "Feels like all the stuff you post online suddenly becomes real when you're in the same room. If you want to, start making money online instead of just scrolling all day. This is where it happens."
That quote, that really encapsulates this whole deep dive, doesn't it? It is the monetized shift from passively consuming an ideology to actively participating in a physical, self-reinforcing world. It suggests that online movements don't just stay online anymore. They buy and build their own societies.
So to bring all this together, Marbella is the perfect stage. It's got the money, the sun, the exclusivity, and this history of discrete wealth. It's the ideal place to legitimize the entire ideology of the Manosphere. It takes an online fantasy of power and makes it real. Exactly. And the takeaway for you, listen to this, is that the movement is moving beyond just making content. They are building sophisticated, high-cost, real-world ecosystems, clubs, masterminds, businesses, all designed to recruit, monetize, and reinforce their narratives.
The narrative of self-improvement packaged with deep misogyny.
And victim blaming. They're not just creating content for you to watch anymore. They're building their own profitable, parallel society.
We started this thinking about Marbella as a place of beaches and movie stars, and we end with this image of a walled garden of validation, where physical strength and financial control are promoted as the only way for men to take back control.
All linked to these hypermasculine, expensive, and ideologically rigid spaces.
So, a final thought for you to explore. If knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and applied, what happens when it's not just knowledge, but a toxic ideology that moves from the anonymous digital world into exclusive, tangible communities? Communities that are specifically designed to filter out any and all criticism and discourage any critical thinking about their own core beliefs. Think about how that shift from being an online influencer to a physical community leader with multi-million-euro real estate behind them, how that changes the very definition of power and influence in our time. It's not about algorithms anymore. It's about control of real geography, real businesses, and the real-world identities of their followers.